They laughed in your face. They made you look small in front of everyone. But here's what they don't know. You're about to turn their moment of triumph into their biggest nightmare. Machiavelli didn't get mad. He got even. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to destroy anyone who dares to disrespect you without ever lifting a finger. If you've ever been publicly embarrassed, mocked, or made to feel worthless, this is your playbook, because you should never tolerate humiliation, ever. What I'm about to show you isn't just revenge. It's psychological warfare that will make them wish they never knew your name. Humiliation reveals your true character. Don't break. Most people crumble when attacked. The few who don't, they become legends. Public shame cuts deeper than any physical wound. It strips away your dignity, questions your worth, and exposes you to the judgment of others. Your natural instinct screams at you to fight back immediately, to defend yourself, prove your strength, show them they picked the wrong target. But that's exactly what Machiavelli would call your first fatal error. Every insult is psychological bait. It's designed to make you lose composure, to drag you into their arena where they've already planned your defeat. The moment you explode with anger or scramble to justify yourself, you've handed them victory on a silver platter. Why? Because now they possess the ultimate weapon against you. They know exactly how to break you. Machiavelli recognized that genuine strength isn't measured by how hard you can hit back, but by how unshakable you remain when others try to destroy you. When someone attempts to humiliate you publicly, they're testing your emotional armor. They want to watch you crumble. They crave the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. But when you remain stone cold and unmoved, you transform their weapon into your shield. This isn't about being passive or weak. This is about wielding restraint like a blade. Your silence becomes their nightmare. Your composure becomes their confusion. They expected fireworks. You gave them ice. And that ice-cold response forces them to question everything. Did their attack even land? Are you planning something devastating? Your stillness becomes more terrifying than any threat. Here's the brutal truth. Your ego wants instant justice, but power demands patience. When you master your emotions in the face of public disgrace, you're no longer a victim of their games. You become the architect of their downfall. In today's world, this means one simple but brutal rule. Never let disrespect trigger an emotional meltdown. Don't explain. Don't beg for understanding. Don't strike back like a wounded animal. When people witness you absorbing insults without flinching, they stop seeing you as prey. They start seeing you as predator. The lesson is clear. Refuse to dance to their tune. Let them celebrate their hollow victory while you plot their destruction. Remember who they tried to break, and make sure that when you're done with them, they'll never make that mistake again. Study every move, document every detail, execute when ready. While they're celebrating their win, you're collecting the ammunition for their destruction. You've been disrespected. Every fiber of your being wants immediate retaliation, wants to restore your honor right now. But Machiavelli would choose a completely different path. He would retreat into the shadows, maintain absolute silence, and begin the most dangerous process of all: systematic intelligence gathering. The most feared individual isn't the one who explodes in rage. It's the one who goes quiet and starts taking notes. Because that person has shifted from emotional victim to strategic predator. And predators study their prey before they strike. When someone publicly humiliates you, they're accidentally revealing their entire playbook. Their choice of words, their body language, their timing. Everything contains valuable intelligence. Who started the attack? Which bystanders joined in? Who remained neutral? Who looked uncomfortable with what was happening? These details map out your battlefield and identify your future targets and potential allies. Machiavelli never treated disrespect as random cruelty. He would dissect it like a chess move. Why did they choose this moment? What do they gain from my public embarrassment? Who benefits from seeing me fall? He approached every slight as a calculated political maneuver and responded with the mind of a general, not a victim. This is where your power exponentially increases. When you observe instead of reacting, you completely flip the dynamic. Most people expect immediate resistance. When you don't provide it, they begin second-guessing their next move. Your silence becomes suspense. Your calmness becomes unnerving. And while they're busy celebrating their temporary victory, you're already engineering their permanent defeat. But observation alone isn't enough. You must document everything. Memorize names, faces, exact phrases. Keep detailed records if necessary. This isn't paranoia. It's preparation for war. Machiavelli understood that today's allies can become tomorrow's enemies. And knowing exactly who crossed which lines gives you leverage when the perfect moment arrives. Then comes the most challenging part: strategic patience. Waiting isn't weakness. It's the ultimate display of control. Most people are impulsive creatures who demand immediate satisfaction and visible proof of their strength. This predictability makes them easy to defeat. But when you can delay your revenge, you evolve into something far more dangerous, a strategic mastermind who strikes when victory is guaranteed, not when emotions are highest. Use this waiting period to strengthen your position, enhance your reputation, expand your network, and increase your value in others' eyes. This way, when you finally execute your plan, whether through social isolation, reputation destruction, or strategic exclusion, it will appear as a natural consequence, not personal vendetta. Remember, observe everything, record every betrayal, and strike when they're most vulnerable. This isn't just revenge. This is total domination, wrapped in patience. Never retaliate publicly. Execute in shadows. Public revenge makes you look weak. Silent destruction makes you look unstoppable. Machiavelli understood that power built on spectacle crumbles quickly. True control emerges from calculated strategic moves that no one anticipates. So when someone humiliates you in front of others, your deadliest weapon isn't your ability to embarrass them in return. It's your ability to orchestrate their downfall while keeping your hands completely clean. Public retaliation feels intoxicating in the moment, but it's strategically suicidal. It exposes your emotional state, reveals your tactical thinking, and broadcasts your desperation to reclaim dignity. Even worse, it forces spectators to pick sides. And unfortunately, crowds typically favor the original aggressor because they appear confident, bold, and entertaining. You, meanwhile, appear reactive, defensive, and weak. Exactly the image you must avoid at all costs. Machiavelli's approach would be to absorb their attack in complete silence. No defense, no justification, no visible crack in your armor. Let them believe they've achieved victory. Let them think you're defeated. Because the moment you walk away without uttering a single word, the spotlight shifts from them to the void you've created. And that void becomes absolutely lethal. Your silence plants seeds of doubt. It makes your attacker wonder if they've overstepped boundaries. It unsettles witnesses. Your refusal to engage completely rewrites the narrative. You're no longer the victim. They're now exposed as someone desperately trying to destroy someone who refuses to be destroyed. But silence isn't surrender. It's camouflage for your real counterattack. Behind that calm exterior, you're preparing your actual response. Here's the crucial element. Your revenge must never unfold in front of the same audience. It should manifest later, quietly, surgically, when the world isn't watching. This might involve turning their closest allies against them, systematically undermining their credibility in professional environments, quietly removing their access to resources they depend on, or simply allowing them to self-destruct, while you subtly accelerate the process from the shadows. Your goal isn't public humiliation, it's psychological destabilization. They should experience a growing sense that their world is falling apart, but never understand why. That's true Machiavellian revenge. Silent, devastating, and untraceable. If you must act publicly, do it through undeniable success. The next time they encounter you, let them see you flourishing, commanding respect, wielding influence. Let your growth be the definitive answer to their attempt to diminish you. They'll realize their attack failed completely, and that realization will torment them far longer than any insult ever could. The principle is simple. When you respond publicly, you play by their rules. When you strike from the shadows, you create entirely new rules that they can't even see, let alone defend against. Transform your reputation into an impenetrable shield. They attacked your image thinking it would destroy you. Instead, you're about to make yourself bulletproof. Your revenge strategy must begin with yourself, not them. Machiavelli would counsel, fortify your reputation like an impregnable castle. If they attempted to drag your name through mud, you don't counter with mudslinging. You ascend so high that their attacks can no longer reach you. You channel every ounce of energy into becoming someone they cannot mock, cannot touch, cannot bring down. Not through shouting or defending, but by building real power in darkness and revealing it through silent excellence. Step 1. Disappear and rebuild. Extract yourself from the circus of jesters and spectators. If they laughed at your expense, let them continue laughing while you vanish into disciplined transformation. Convert that pain into rocket fuel. Upgrade everything in complete silence. Study relentlessly. Train harder. Earn more. Become sharper, more intelligent, more controlled. When people witness that humiliation didn't shatter you but forged you into something stronger, they start questioning everything they thought they knew about you. This evolution must be noticeable yet subtle. Don't boast about changes. Don't announce your comeback. Let them discover your upgraded presence through undeniable signs. Your posture radiates confidence. Your words carry weight. Your self-respect becomes unshakable. Your achievements speak volumes. Your detachment from their noise becomes obvious. Each improvement becomes another brick in your fortress of reputation. Machiavelli also believed in controlling perception strategically. So refine your image not just through genuine improvement, but through intentional presentation. Master how you appear to others. Dress with purpose. Speak with authority. Establish boundaries that didn't exist before. When you conduct yourself like someone who cannot be disrespected, people automatically treat you that way. And those who once mocked you, they'll sense the transformation, even if they can't articulate it. Your silence transforms into dignity. Your absence becomes mystique. Your growth becomes their shame and regret. But remember, this isn't about feeding your ego. It's about commanding genuine respect. You're not trying to appear powerful. You're becoming legitimately powerful. And when that happens, their humiliation becomes irrelevant. It no longer defines your story. It becomes merely a footnote in your transformation narrative. Ultimately, the most devastating revenge is evolving into someone they can't approach, can't provoke, and can't defeat. Your reputation is no longer their plaything. It's a fortress with walls too high for them to scale. You don't need to announce your power. You simply become untouchable and let them feel the distance they created when they underestimated your potential. Use their insecurity as your ultimate weapon. The people who humiliate others aren't strong. They're desperate. And desperation is a weakness you can exploit. Here's a Machiavellian truth that cuts straight to the bone. People who publicly humiliate others rarely do it from a position of strength. They do it from a place of deep insecurity. They desperately crave validation. They hunger for attention. They humiliate to feel powerful, to establish dominance in front of an audience whose approval they desperately need. And this psychological dependence is precisely where their greatest vulnerability lies hidden. Machiavelli would never simply strike back at such individuals. He would weaponize their psychological neediness as leverage, because someone who depends on others' approval is already compromised. They just haven't realized it yet. So what's your move? You feed their ego strategically. You validate their superiority. You let them feel dominant. You completely disarm them by playing along with their narrative. Not because you've surrendered, but because you're seizing control of the entire dynamic. When you validate someone who thrives on humiliation, you lull them into dangerous overconfidence. They begin believing they've completely conquered you. Their guard drops completely. And that's precisely when you can manipulate them without any resistance. This approach serves dual purposes. First, it allows you to remain close enough for detailed observation while simultaneously setting up their inevitable downfall. You're not pushing back directly. You're creating their addiction to your validation. And when the perfect moment arrives, you withdraw it completely, stop laughing at their jokes, cease your praise, begin systematically excluding them from your social circle. Let them experience the sudden absence of attention and observe how quickly they unravel. They'll either become desperate to win back your approval or lash out in complete panic. Either response exposes them as needy, unstable, and pathetic. The exact opposite of the strong image they tried to build by humiliating you, even more devastatingly effective. Turn others against them without speaking a single insult. Since you've maintained composure and dignity throughout, others will naturally begin questioning the person who initiated the mockery. Subtly highlight their insecurity in casual conversations. Plant questions like, "Have you noticed how desperately they need to be the center of attention?" Or, "Why do you think they constantly need to tear others down to feel good about themselves?" You're not attacking them. You're seeding doubt, and doubt spreads through social groups like wildfire. Machiavelli knew that controlling perception matters more than controlling volume. By exploiting your humiliator's need for approval, you're manipulating how others perceive them without ever appearing to launch a direct attack. And when they finally realize they've lost the attention, respect, and influence they were desperately chasing, maintain complete silence. Let that silence become a mirror reflecting their true nature. Someone who tried to build power by destroying others, only to completely destroy themselves using their own weakness. This represents the art of psychological warfare at its finest. You don't destroy them. You create the conditions for them to destroy themselves using the exact same vulnerability that drove them to target you initially. Shape the story without saying a word. Truth doesn't matter. The story people believe matters, and you're about to control that story completely. One of Machiavelli's most overlooked strategic principles is this devastating truth. Power doesn't belong to those who scream loudest. It belongs to those who control the narrative. When someone humiliates you, the real damage isn't the insult itself. It's how others interpret and remember that insult. If the story becomes "you were weak," "you were exposed," or "you were destroyed," then the humiliation becomes permanent. But if you control the narrative, you seize control of reality itself. Machiavelli understood that reputation is everything in the game of power, and reputation is shaped not by objective truth, but by subjective perception. So when someone attempts to publicly shame you, your mission isn't to fight back openly and obviously. It's to quietly redirect how people interpret the entire situation. How do you accomplish this psychological manipulation? Start by refusing to explain or defend yourself in any way. The moment you defend your reputation directly, you validate their attack. You signal that it wounded you. You demonstrate that their opinion matters. Instead, let your silence create the narrative. That silence generates ambiguity and confusion. People start wondering, why isn't he reacting? Maybe the attack wasn't even accurate. He seems so composed and unaffected. Maybe the attacker went too far and looks pathetic now. That doubt becomes your most powerful ally. Next step, control your image through consistent, quiet excellence. Keep appearing, keep performing, keep exceeding expectations. Outperform your enemy without ever mentioning their name. Let your progress cast a shadow over their petty insults. People forget jokes and mockery, but they remember dominance and success. When they observe you winning while your enemy is still talking, the narrative shifts automatically in your favor. You can also influence perception by planting strategic seeds in others' minds. Use questions instead of accusations. For example, "I wonder why they keep behaving that way in public. Seems pretty insecure. Have you noticed how much energy they invest in seeking attention from others?" You're not launching attacks. You're guiding conversations, gently steering others away from your enemy toward a completely different interpretation. This is the art of indirect psychological warfare. Instead of defending your image, you're reframing their actions as pathetic and desperate. Machiavelli would also recommend building quiet alliances strategically. Don't rally crowds. Win over key individuals through private conversations. A genuine compliment here, a demonstration of strength there. Become someone respected for consistency and composure. When the people around you trust and admire you, your enemies lose all power to control the narrative because nobody listens to them anymore. Eventually, the person who humiliated you becomes completely irrelevant. Their attempts at mockery are perceived as petty, desperate, and unworthy of attention. Because you didn't fight back. You simply rose above their level. And in doing so, you made them appear small, weak, and pathetic. The most beautiful part, you accomplished this complete narrative reversal without ever raising your voice, creating drama, or engaging in confrontation. You became the author of your own story and reduced your enemy to an irrelevant footnote in your success. Make them regret ever crossing you. They think humiliating you was their moment of victory. You're about to make it their biggest mistake. Machiavelli believed that consequences should be both strategic and unforgettable. Punishment must leave such a deep psychological scar that your enemy regrets ever attempting to cross you. Not because you're sadistic, but because you're calculating. When someone tries to humiliate you publicly, your ultimate objective is ensuring they never dare repeat that mistake. Not through physical harm, but by burning the memory of their error so deeply into their consciousness that it haunts them forever. Humiliation is a social weapon designed to strip away your status and influence. Therefore, your revenge must not only reverse that process, but also exact a price so severe they'll forever associate their attack with devastating loss, isolation, and regret. This doesn't require direct confrontation or obvious retaliation. Instead, you orchestrate consequences they never see coming until it's too late to stop them. Here's your strategy. Use time, reputation, and subtle influence as your weapons of choice. Slowly, methodically, transform their moment of public mockery into a curse that follows them everywhere. For example, you don't confront them directly, but the next time they need your help, your approval, or access to your network, you simply don't exist for them anymore. You don't block them. You erase them from your reality. You strategically position yourself with people they want to impress. You succeed in areas where they desperately wish they could excel. Their disrespect becomes the reason they find themselves excluded from circles they once belonged to. This isn't personal vengeance. It's surgical consequence. And that precision is what makes it truly Machiavellian. Remember, you're not aiming to hurt them emotionally just for personal satisfaction. You're creating long-term consequences that teach an unforgettable lesson. Attacking you costs real power. This makes your revenge systemic, not just a single event, but a chain reaction that permanently alters how others perceive them, how they perceive themselves, and how the entire social game functions from that moment forward. You want your enemy to look back months or even years later and realize with crystal clarity, that moment when I publicly disrespected them is exactly when everything in my life started falling apart. They shouldn't be able to trace precisely how or why their world crumbled. But deep in their gut, they'll know it all began with you. And the most devastating part for them? You never once raised your voice in anger. You never played dirty. You simply moved smarter than they could comprehend. Machiavelli taught that fear is more reliable than love as a foundation for respect. You don't need people to love you after being attacked. You need them to understand that crossing you brings real consequences. That knowledge alone will protect you more effectively than any apology, confrontation, or public defense ever could. So let your revenge echo through time. Let their moment of mockery become their turning point of permanent regret. Not loudly, quietly, strategically, and irreversibly. Ascend beyond their reach and stay ice cold. The ultimate revenge isn't destroying them. It's becoming so powerful they can't even see you anymore. Machiavelli believed the most devastating form of revenge isn't direct confrontation. It's complete transformation. When someone attempts to humiliate you, their goal is simple and brutal: to diminish you, to shrink your presence, to transform you into a laughingstock. What terrifies such people more than anything else is the realization that their attack didn't just fail. It forged you into something infinitely more powerful. That's why your final strategic move is this: rise without any warning whatsoever. No announcements, no comeback speeches, no declarations that you're returning stronger than before. You simply vanish from their narrative and quietly rebuild yourself behind an impenetrable curtain. You train relentlessly, evolve systematically, improve dramatically, and position yourself higher than they ever imagined possible. And you accomplish this transformation without seeking recognition or applause. The next time they encounter you, you're not the same person they humiliated. You've become someone untouchable, unreachable, completely unfazed by their existence. This isn't a comeback story. It's total metamorphosis. Why without warning? Because people prepare for battles, but they don't prepare for silence, followed by overwhelming success. When you rise suddenly without needing validation or acknowledgement, it's not just impressive. It's psychologically unsettling. They expected bitterness and retaliation. They expected dramatic reactions. What they didn't expect was your calm detachment and the cold reality that they no longer exist in your world. Here's the next crucial element. Remain absolutely ice cold. When you finally surpass them in power, status, or influence, the most Machiavellian response is treating them like empty air. No acknowledgement, no retaliation, no re-engagement whatsoever. You don't need to humiliate them in return. You've already accomplished that by transforming their insult into a footnote in your ascension. Because the most devastating message you can transmit is this: you tried to break me. Now I've outgrown you so completely that I no longer register your existence. This emotional detachment represents pure power in its most refined form. While they obsess over the past, reliving the moment they mocked you, you've constructed a life they can't touch or influence. While they wait desperately for your reaction, you move like a shadow, focused, controlled, and ice-cold. And that coldness becomes a mirror, forcing them to confront just how insignificant their attack truly was. And here's the final psychological twist. As you rise, everyone else is watching and remembering. They recall how you were treated. They witnessed how you never cracked under pressure, never lashed out in anger, and now they observe you winning decisively. That's what earns long-term respect and makes future humiliations virtually impossible. Because nobody mocks a gathering storm, and nobody dares challenge someone who rose from complete destruction without making a single sound. Your next move. Revenge isn't about rage, it's about evolution. When someone tries to humiliate you, don't give them the satisfaction of watching you break. Give them the punishment of watching you become unstoppable. Machiavelli didn't just win battles. He ended wars through patience, precision, and cold calculation. Now you know the blueprint. Let them laugh at you today, and let them fear what you become tomorrow. If this strategy resonated with you, hit that subscribe button because I'm revealing more Machiavellian secrets that will change how you handle every challenge life throws at you. And remember, never tolerate humiliation. Transform it into power. Your revenge starts now.